everyone, and welcome to another episode of the World of Sasquatch. And today we're here in Sedona, as you can see. Found an almost impossible to find spot where nobody's bothering us. There's people walking all along down there on the trail. We came up way up here with Bell Rock off that way, and this mountain range up here in the background. And it looks like Teapot Rock, or whatever you call off that way. You can't see it from here, but off that way is that. And we're not going to disclose what site we're on because we want to be able to film here again. So, anyway, this is going to be a World of Sasquatch, because I know they have wanted to come through, and I'm sorry if it's windy out. Hopefully you can hear us. I'm trying to talk as loud as I can without tipping off anybody down below there. And
the road's not too far, so that's why you're hearing maybe some car activity.
Yeah, right over here. Okay, we're just going to chance it and hope nobody walks behind the camera and starts asking questions. So, here we go. I know I'm not sure why the forest people wanted to come in. I believe it was more, how can I put it? I'm trying to see what they're trying to translate to me now. It's I think it's more clearing out the space so you can bring out more of the real person, is how they're putting it. So, let me see here if that's how I'm translating it right. And, yeah, briefly. Okay, briefly what? Oh, you mean talk here? Okay. I thought, your people were up here in the hills too. Oh, but there are other beings up in here too. So, they're warning me that there are beings that live up in here as well that are kind of looking this direction. So, which one of the forest people wants to come through? Is it Seymour, Fuma, our usual group? Seymour, can you show me heart space, please? I'm getting a heavier feeling about that. So, oh, that's why we have to make it brief. Okay. But just fine by me. Less time to get interrupted by people. So, and if you're wondering what that plane is overhead, that's an old, looks like a World War II era plane that's going overhead.
Literally overhead.
Literally overhead here. It went around the mountain range and came up over this way. So, all right. So, let's see. Seymour? All right. Come on in. And please, Turbine Source Creator, please can you keep the distractions to an absolute bare minimum to what you can. Like that. Okay, let's see.
No, they're just walking on the trail.
Yeah, they're walking on the trail. Okay, good. Okay. Seymour, you're more than welcome. He's saying we picked a good spot, like a sweet spot or like Goldilocks zone between different territories of beings here. We're like in like a little strip between who owns what. So like between like cat people and bat like people and Sasquatch and all sorts of other beings. So we picked a good spot, and nobody can see this at the moment, but there's these stacked stones that we're sitting next to where people like to stack the rocks. That's usually a symbol of protection when people do that, or they probably don't know why they're doing it, but they're actually protecting the site. So let's see here. Let's see if I can do this through the distractions in the background here. In settings such as these, say here in Sedona, you would often find that people like to come here in order to, you would say, unwind or enrich your soul. Yes, that does indeed happen here, and yes, that can happen. But the main reason for this conversation is this, not because of the setting per se, which is just fine, on the boundaries of different races, and there are at least 5 different boundaries in this area of different races that claim sovereigns. But claiming sovereigns within the self, either what you must bring out to transmute, say old memories like from abduction times, or as they have done SSP times, and what does not need to surface at all. And you would say, but does it all have to? Indeed, there are times where that is absolutely necessary to bring out to give to the general public or to enrich your soul. And there are some things that there are holes in the Swiss cheese, let's just say, for a reason. Until those holes can be mended, you fill that in with your soul, therefore mending and healing that process. Do not leave open holes or believe you have open holes in your soul or in your psyche somewhere, because those can become real holes. You see, when you speak, those are spells, and those spells create. When they create, they leave openings for what you would call darkness to enter. Now, I will speak about sovereignty and sovereign territory. As we have discussed, this territory is owned by at least 5 different races. This is what you would call the Goldilocks zone between all of them, including our race. We do hold sovereigns in these hills as well. But it is important to remember not to claim sovereigns of a territory that does not belong to you, and claim sovereigns in an area just because you wish to cleanse someone else's territory, let's just say, which is an admirable aspiration. We are not going to deny this in our turf. But there are other races that would take offense to this, and negotiating through their territory, very much like you have a neighbor with a yard. This is something that we would like to discuss now. Say in this direction, you have a group of beings known as trogs, or we call them troglodytes. That is meant as a because they tend to claim all that they can put themselves in as theirs. This is not true. The same as if you look into their territory. Up at these pointed peaks that are up here, they are even watching even now. Off in that direction, you have the descendant lineage of some cat people. You would see them as like Black Panther looking people. Some of them can be very vicious, especially when tread upon in their territory. We have warned people away from their territory by ironically taking the forms of bats and other animals to warn people away from their territory because they do not like trespassers. In that direction would be some of our territory, and over in there. Further on that way into the city of Sedona, there are fairy territories and some nymph territories. And lastly, there is a race underground that you would know as Blancaneer, lion offshoot, that spreads through here as well, that sees everything as theirs, which is untrue. But those are the races that encompass this little area. There are Pleiadian groups as well, but they're further east and further north. Why bring it up as this? Again, when you enter someone's home, do you declare that territory yours, or do you declare your bodily self yours as a form of sovereignty, putting your foot down and clearing the space within and around your immediate area? Or would you spread it through the person's home? If they notice this, they would become angered and therefore causing a fight, which is what the programming wants. Say if you went up into the Trogs territory, they would not like that too well. Or the cats, or even the Lancaneers, though we do not care much for them. And several of the fairy territories, and ours. There are times where we do not care if you do that in ours, but there are tribes that do. I'm going to say this again. There are tribes like us who do not care if you bring in offerings and bring in changing of energies. We appreciate this, but there are some that are trying to keep that to a bare minimum. We do differ in some of our opinions and methodologies, very much like yourselves. Granted, there are some very small amounts of dark ones out there as well, but I will not get into that currently. at this point, we can respond to questions.
So, a lot of people just like the idea, humans I should say, human race, just like the idea of being able to go out and in a sense say a prayer or a blessing for the land, any healings that need to be done. Is something like that even offensive to some of these groups?
Yes, indeed. There are some races out there, very much like the Trogs in the hills here and in the mountains, that if you walked up into their caves and started to do a blessing, they require a particular energy frequency in which to exist in. If you begin to alter that frequency, they would become offended at this and see this as an act of aggression towards them. Very much like if one of them came into your home and did the same. Very much like what happened to your home, where a Trog attempted to enter and alter the energy constant. They would see that as offensive in their home, even though they do it to other people.
So it's an interesting dynamic you're bringing up, because, what would we really then advise people to do to be able to, again, negotiate something that the humans, feel like they can honor, and they're just trying to honor and be kind, but yet people are not being affected in a negative way if they are really meant to be here. And I'm making an assumption that as we all grow and we learn about each other's existence, we're all going to have to find a way mostly to coexist. There will be some that have the means and the capacity to choose to leave or go somewhere else. So in that type of conversation, if you actually utilized and you wanted to do something, but you said for all highest good, if the highest good of theirs was to remain, then it's almost like then that trumps whatever you're doing, so it basically becomes neutral, doesn't it?
Indeed, yes. Though they would not think of it as such, and some of those cat people would not think of it as such. Fairies, they walk the line. They sometimes do, sometimes don't. And we, as a tribe here in the Southwest, do not actually care if people do this. But yes, it would declare an area neutral if certain energies were canceling out, even if you do not verbalize it as such. Say if you were leaving Shungite blessings like you were planning to do today, the Trogs up there would take offense to it if you were further up into the hills.
Right.
They do not like the energy of it. Further down here, the energy can spread and neutralize further as it is at their boundary line, which is about halfway up the hillside over there. If you were to throw a piece of Shungite past there, it would begin to change their energy environment. But once the energy goes within or up to their boundary, it will be canceled out by their boundary. We're not saying that would happen with Shungite, but if you were to declare it neutral or to bless, it would stop at their boundary because that is their sovereign territory. Shungite will begin to alter the fabric and actually begin to enhance certain blessings, but it would still, because of their free will, be canceled out.
So I was specifically going to ask about declaring someplace neutral, and you're bringing that up right now. So is it more acceptable to just say, I declare a place neutral for any and every being's highest good? Is that something that really those with the heart that want to go out and do that should do, to be in consideration of all the different races?
Indeed, yes. That would be considerate to a certain extent, but the neutrality declaration would only go up to their boundary lines since they have declared certain sovereignty. Now, if they're in an open area that they do not own and they are trying to gain, let's say, mining rights to an area, you declare that neutral, and other races that are fighting over it would have to depart because they don't own it. The Trogs own that territory, and they've declared it sovereign. It would be for their highest good to remain since they own it. And it would be for your highest good not to cross into their territory. But if you say the entire land is blessed for everyone's highest good, then yes, you could think of that as a neutrality blessing, but also retaining the sovereignty of the different races' territories.
Which is important, because really, somewhere along the line, in a diplomatic way, there has to be seen by other races towards humans and humans towards other, that there is some sort of respect for, territory and, different things like that. So I guess, one of the biggest things coming out of this conversation, and I'm going to make a guess, the reason you've decided, because you actually even put out, yesterday that you wanted to have a conversation, and this was the conversation. So what it means in my mind, why is it important now, is because there is more notice or more pondering by everyone that the inevitable is going to occur where we're eventually going to meet. It seems to me that would be the reason why. So we need to start showing good stewardship to ourselves as well as others. I guess I'm saying that we will start making sure that we declare, places neutral for every being's highest good and, bless it. But we would want, if something was not healthy for someone and they had sovereign area, we wouldn't want it to pass their boundaries. We wouldn't want to contaminate someone.
This is actually beginning to happen now. Some of your governmental bodies and militaristic bodies are actually putting up warning signs in different areas. They're actually marking off some of the sovereign territories of some of these beings that they know are there and know that own the different territories. They're actually putting up do not cross signs in areas that people think are just for militaristic purposes. That is not always the case. There are different beings that actually hold sovereigns in different areas. There's also ones that come and go in these areas called the bourgeois. You have encountered them before. They are a bug type race. They have signs and symbols in their territory. They do frequent Sedona, but they come and go in a migratory path. Those species will have their migratory paths cordoned off in some fashion so humans do not disturb unless they ask to go into the different territories, very much like you would want to invite a benevolent being into your own territory. You're actually going to see this in the years to come, that certain races, there are other races across your world, rodent-like ones, for example, that own different farmlands around your United States country. They actually hold sovereigns on people's lands that have large amounts of acreages. Some forest people lineages are actually in some of these different areas, as well as different, as you would call them, goblin types, but that's more of a derogatory term. There are other underground races that hold sovereignty, like elf types in different areas as well. You have to negotiate around these different races when they come out of the woodwork, let's say. There are different bug races, too, that hold sovereignty. And there are races that have been here for ages and ages past, such as the ones you call the blue lizards or the bluet. They actually hold sovereignty in different areas as well that have had it since time immemorial. These are races that were kind very soon, in retrospect, to the amount of dark up until this point. Relatively soon, you will see that you will be negotiating with these different races. I'm not saying tomorrow, but I am saying soon.
Right, in comparison, 20 years or 30 years is soon compared to all the many hundreds and thousands of years of crap that we've been through.
Indeed.
So
yes.
again, that's what kind of perspective he's saying. At least that's how I heard it.
Yes.
So in general as well, if you, again, we had this conversation when we were specifically speaking on the world of Sasquatch, about Sasquatch and even with dogmen regarding not just, let's say, you're going to be attacked, but if you pay attention, you're going to be feeling and sensing warnings to potentially leave an area. So I'm going to assume that, except for a very rare few, there are always going to be some sort of feeling, sensation, something where you kind of pick up, maybe I shouldn't be here.
Indeed, yes. Like just today, for example, if we did not want to have this conversation with you and all of you, you would have felt a warning to stay away. We will not do this. We know this is also a public area. We're also, like I said, other races hold sovereignty. But if you were to go out into the deep woods, both us and the dogmen and other races would warn you off with the same telepathic warning. If you ignore this, then beings such as the dogmen and ourselves would chase you out of an area. This has been done several times by both species, and also sometimes we're warning you out of an area because it's under dispute by us on either the dogmen or some other race. We don't fight with the dogmen like we used to, but there are scuffles from time to time, and we try to warn people of an area that's under dispute as well.
So again, keep this in mind. I think, again, we've always said, we've been trying to say this lately, where we talk about just in general benevolence for everyone's highest good. And so I guess what I'm saying is that thought process of true caring for all, hoping that everybody can work it out as we get to know one another, benevolence for everyone's highest good, is really the best, almost potentially, besides saying neutrality and benevolence for everyone's highest good, is really kind of the best generic blessing you can probably give to an area, and as well if you're radiating out intent not to harm. And I think it would make sense that after some time, I doubt that it's there yet, some of these races will start to, let's say, believe the intention. Right now they've got to fill a lot of this potential trigger, because I'm sure they've experienced it.
Oh yes, most definitely, including some of our own people that have dealt with humans over the decades. Some of our people are skeptical of humans, but yet still want to gain a dialogue. Beings like the Trogs, who are isolationists, do not favor always the dialogue with humans, but from time to time they do invade people's homes and home areas, very much like a demonic entity. We remove them in that case, or other races will remove other races that we do not always see or catch them all. In this, there are other things that people should know. I know the transmission is starting to get choppy. There are also human military in this area that do not like the fact that other races are communicating with humans, because they're Orion overlords, let's just say, or the blockade above does not approve. So I will be brief in what I'm about to say. In your negotiations with other races, as we have pointed out, and the Bluet and other races have pointed out, you will have to negotiate with some of your own kind that are less than tasteful, let's just say, more arrogant than you would like, and bearing symbols that you would not approve of, such as the swastika and other militaristic symbols that represent something similar, or some kind of dominance or tip of the spear mentality, let's just say. This is something that people are going to have to deal with in the coming of years, days and years and months and times ahead, because of the fact that we're all one, you see. We're all races that need to work together, and in time you may even aid to change the ideal of, say, the swastika, change its connotation back to a more benevolent symbol. And the same goes for some of these other units. We're not saying offer your services to them. We're not saying that you always have to agree with them or consent or any of that. You already know about that part. What we are saying is, you do not have to put up with bullying, but yet you do not necessarily need to be the bully in return. You can be more negotiatory in nature, even if you've gone through hell with these people, even if they have laid down undue hell upon you. We understand the anger and the hatred towards these people. We understand this perfectly well. But we're saying in this new age, it is more applicable, more apt to negotiate your way into some of these camps and positions, and see all of these parties as working together. Eventually all those little symbols will fall away, those signets of these different groups will fall away, and there will be a united Earth and a united solar system under a different one, like your Star Trek program. It will be very similar to that. We see this as he would say, ripples in a pond, but it is a possible potentiality, the perfect, most possible with all of these people. Even if they unduly hatred towards your group or see you as lesser than them, very much like the Nazi group, you know that is the devil, let's just say. That is the so-called enemy, you know. That is the facets of personality that you know. The superiority complex. Now that you know that, you know to either avoid certain conversations with that, or you know how to negotiate around it, over it, through it, and with it. I use them as an example because they are, let's just say, arbiters of the solar system. We use that word as a kindness, but they were really domineering overlords, but we're not going into that. But we have had to negotiate with them because they hold the keys to the solar system that is outside of the solar system. Negotiating with them is a necessity to gain access to the system and helping to change the energy of the system back to the metropolis it once was a half a
And then the question is, and I think I know the answer, because I would think it would be a logical question from people listening, why do they feel they have to negotiate with us? And that's a really big deal. So if you're dealing with these people who's been the middleman, who's been the one out there, whatever, why in the holy hell would they feel like dealing with other groups of humans that they consider lesser than, whatever? And we're not spacefaring, but why? It's because of the consciousness, the collective desire. They cannot. If they stop, if you don't let them beat you down, if you don't let them keep you in anger so you don't grow, if you don't let that and you develop your co-creative skills and you can see the end of whatever, the dynamics will change. Guys, I don't want them at the table. How? What they're going to think is, I'm going to control them. And so we'll bring them to the table with their ulterior motive of how are we going to figure out how to actually dominate this. But they're not going to necessarily be able to. So believe me, when they bring you to the table, let's say if you're someone who's going to be there, that's their viewpoint. Their viewpoint is, how am I still going to come on top? How am I still going to control you? But feel like, because they need your co-creative skills. Yes. And so what people are going to have to, understand, though, is that the people coming to the table that are not of that faction already have a vision that they're holding on to, no matter how much they're put down, no matter how much they're talked down to, no matter how much. And that co-creative skill, and again, things like bringing up past memories where you were dominated, controlled, or trying to make you feel bad, it will be water off a duck's back. It will not be able to surpass the desire of the future that these people will be bringing to the table. So you're going to have people trying to control them, trying to manipulate them, and it's just not going to work. And so that's the reality. It's not pretty. That's my whole thing. It's not beautiful. It's not pretty. It's not even honest. It's not even going to be, and it does, but you know what? It doesn't matter, because you're going to be potentially, or whomever the people are, coming to the table with such a strong heart space vision that you know what's going on around you. You know what the attempts are. You know of all of this stuff. So I say that now because I think what's happening right now are attempts to, again, keep people in anger, keep people in those lower vibrational, everything they can do to keep you frustrated, keep you mad about what happened to you in your past, keep you mad and angry and it was unfair, because that will keep you from moving forward. You got to find a way to see the vision in the future that you want and let this other stuff, yep, it really happened. Yep, you went through cycle after cycle, and every time you were disobedient, you were physically hurt. Yep, that happened. And some people are like, I want to remember it all. I'm like, well, how many times, if it was done 25 times, how many of those times do you need to know what happened to you? You just need enough to know the cycle, and then let it go. And then don't let them drag you back to feeling victimized and feeling you need justice. Because the justice is moving ahead.
Yes, indeed. The justice is always moving ahead. Know that, yes, these people do owe you a lot. They owe you the planet. They owe you the solar system. They're not going to give it away freely. They're not going to give it to you alone. Know that you co-creating, working side by side with them, and eventually your heart space intention becomes the dominant torsion field in the solar system. And that type of hatred and that type of malice and that type of behavior eventually will no longer be tolerated and no longer be active in your solar system. Yes, it is rampant at the moment. The programming is definitely rampant at the moment. But just know that what you remember from those past, especially if you were in the secret space program or any of these My Labs or any of these sexual circles, any of that, yes, these people owe you. They definitely owe you. Will they give it? No. Which means you have to build it on your own. Which means, yes, well, you can help energetically from benevolence or a true benevolent source creator and us and other benevolent beings. Yes, we will aid you, but we will not aid hateful pursuits against these people. We will aid in negotiation pursuits. We sympathize and we feel the burning hatred and the fire that you have for these people. We know what it's all about. We understand, we sympathize, and we know why. But it doesn't mean that it needs to continue past this point. Which means any justice that you are wanting to receive from this, you will not be getting from them. Ever. You will be getting it by moving on, moving forward, and doing what you came here to do, if it means coinciding with their path, and actually making it so some of them see what they've done wrong. Yes, there are going to be a few of those cases, and I can guarantee you that. Because there's goodness there too, that people do not see, because they lump everything together. But in a majority of those cases, will they see as what they've done is wrong? No, they see themselves as superior, and they don't see that they have to recompense anything. But there will be some amongst them, including Martian Germans, that will sympathize with people of Earth and actually begin to work together. Now, do they see themselves as isolationists? Yes, but not every single one of them. To see every single one of them as that way would be asinine. And also, members of the ICC, for instance, are all of them that way? No. Are the ones that forged it that way? Yes, unfortunately. This is why you have to negotiate your way through these hurdles and put yourselves both energetically and physically and mentally and heart space in these key positions and see the system being cleaned up and seeing everybody working together. Would it serve you to have a war or a battle or a revolution in the traditional sense? Absolutely not. They would cream you in 2 seconds because of their technology. This is also a warning. The other races wouldn't be so apt to defend you, in some of them. We would, and some other races would. But other races would not band against them. Some of them fear them. Some of them are just going along with the rules of the system. Like we said, negotiating territory. That's what some of them are doing. Some of them do not wish a fight. Some of them just wish to trade. So to avoid a war, remember, you see a swastika out in the system, do not exhibit that level of hatred more than what is applicable to your honest feelings about it, and asking the right questions. We always say ask the right questions. Always ask the right questions. And they would answer you. They would answer you how they got there. They would answer you why. But would they still see you as an equal? No. This is why all of us together will help rebuild the system in the proper image that it is meant to be in.
Really? So the bottom line is you don't need them to see you as equal to move forward.
No.
And that's what the key is that you have to understand. Some people think that everyone has to be on the same sheet of paper to move forward, and it doesn't. It truly is whomever is the stronger torsion field, it usually is going to end up driving how the energies work. And that's what the key is. So it doesn't matter if they or other races or the tall whites, or it doesn't matter that they will never ever, they're to the last breath, they will never ever even let it entertain. It doesn't matter. So you need to drop that as some sort of stone that if you reach it, it means we can make progress. We can make progress anyway. Mm-hmm. So let that go. It's a huge weight. If you will let it off your shoulders, you wouldn't believe, and they no longer have any entanglement to grapple onto once you let that go, because they use that to their advantage. When you let it go, they're falling off the cliff because they have nothing to hold on to to impact you. So, you know, there's so many different reasons. Just in that sense, let them have their belief system. It won't matter as long as you're true to the desires and the intentions of what, you know, you want. And most of us want things that are in more of a unifying way, not just with other human races, but also with other races out there, or other races that we haven't realized yet that have been here longer than we have.
Yes, indeed. Know that negotiating with these people versus an outright war with them will always be applicable. Now, when it comes to the blockade and the Orion supremacy, this is something that you have to leave to us. We are not saying allow them in your home. We're not saying that you aren't part of this fight with them and some of your humankind and military that have completely become subservient to them. We are not saying not to defend yourselves. We are not saying not to cut signals off that they're throwing your way. We are not saying not defense. We're not saying that. But the overall Orion supremacy, you must leave to us to negotiate our way through that and to fight our way through that. And you must leave this to other races who have opposed them. We know you wish to enter this fight, and we feel your heart space in this particular modality, let's just say. And your heart space is working wonders out there to help us. But as far as physical fighting goes with the Draco and with the Orion supremacy, absolutely not. They are much stronger than you think they are, especially the second generation Orion. Mentally, you do not know the trickery they could befall on you in an open battle. Draco, they are much larger and stronger than you are. Even your most hardened military has had a really hard time with even one of them. You're dealing with several troops of them, not only on Mars, on Earth, but on the Moon and in different places of your solar system as basically bodyguards to the Orions. They are very hard to battle. They're very difficult to bring down. We're not saying that your help would not be appreciated, but we are not saying you would be in the way, and you would in that respect. We appreciate your open heart in that matter. But physically, you are no match for them at the moment. Mentally, heart space, soul, you are far vastly superior in that way. And that will just know that your desire to help and your desire to change is all that we need for that type of help. If it came down to it and we were fighting side by side, and if it was in a crunch, as you would say, yes, that help would be appreciated. But 98% of the time, it cannot happen that way.
But you need to see with your intention things working out for the highest good, that the negotiations are working, that if there is the last breath mentality, that sometimes these beings, it will be their last breath. And you have to see that it works out for the highest good. That type of, as you said, heart space, felt intention, energy, is what boosts you guys to help you, do what needs to be done. And that, it's no different than cheering on a football team in that sense, where this football team out of nowhere all of a sudden comes back and rally when they were, on their last breath. That's how you have to see how powerful your intention is, and you put it out there for everyone's highest good. And the source creator of all in general is not for seeing domination control where people's heart space growth is being violated, and that's what we're talking about.
Yes. And at this moment in time, we must depart from this area. But I will say this. Everything that you are sending out there actually holds weight. Even amidst the interference of the blockade, the interference of telepathic races, your military, Orions, or even some rogue versions of ourselves or rogue versions of fairies, whomever. Your heart space intentions actually far outweigh all of that noise, all of that interference. And just know when thoughts are being placed in your head that are not yours, that you know they are not yours. When your heart seems like it is, let's just say, led astray in certain areas, it is not. It is not you. It is never you. What is you is doing your own inner work, so they can't grapple onto you as easily, and eventually you will hit a certain sovereign's level, let's just say, and a certain frequency, that you will see all of that going on in the background and go, nobody cares. It's actually going on in the background. Very much like a lot of radio noise, let's just say, or a lot of internet noise, or like, think of them as like ads in the background on your Facebook or something like that. That they're an annoyance, but keep them to the side. And eventually your race will get to that level. Now you will eventually be a blending of military and spiritual, like a spiritual monk. You will also, very much like in your Star Trek movies and programs, convert your military over to a different area, exploration and defense. Not necessarily tip of the spear mentality like ego, or a survival mode, or a reactionary mode. It will actually convert over. This is something we helped add to those movies, where it converted over from an active spec ops military to captaining starships. That's a long ways off yet, but this is how eventually your system will end up, and it will get cleaned up. Know that any of the histories you find out there are true and are legit and will be made to be left alone. No one is going to wipe that history away. What you see out in your solar system will be maybe 5% deception and 95% legitimate when you get out into the solar system. And I'm saying these things as a matter of fact and a matter at the moment, because you're getting to the point where you're beginning to see more and more of this. Even the announcement, let's just say, of your Space Force currently, that is actually the part of the narrative that they're trying to spin. They're trying to say this just happened when it didn't, even though we've repeated that many, many times. We are holding true to that, knowing that you will see legitimate history when you get out in the system. None of the other races are allowing anybody to destroy any history like what happens on Earth periodically. It is actually going to be there, at least mostly intact, by the time you get out there. There's an infrastructure waiting for you. There are many places even outside the system that are even waiting for you. Just know that when you are ready, there will be a few hurdles of negotiation. There will be a vast solar system for you to travel, and there will be a vast cosmos for you to explore. This is how we see it happening. Thank you, everyone. Looking towards my backpack. Okay. Let's see.
No, you're fine.
Okay. But, all right. Ooh. It's very blue out here.
It was interesting because you had said driving up, they made mention of it. We did too. That when you kind of take a curvy road to come into Sedona, and you take a turn, and then you start to see, bam, there's red rock showing up. Mm-hmm. Sometimes when we've done that, we have hit a wall of something like
usually it's like military or something.
Right. Not today. Today was very open, very inviting, and trails. We must have gone around 4 times, and Chris wouldn't. He kept saying, "Go around again, go around again."
I kept saying, "Go around again," because I figured we'd find a parking space.
But I have a feeling that was put in there because we didn't know where we're standing was really probably one of the better places to come here to have conversations. Being guided to go in a circle for quite a long time before someone pulled out and we could pull in.
Yeah, we hovered like a vulture for a while looking for a space, and it's going to be the start of tourist season here soon in Sedona. So this is a good opportunity to do filming here. It's a very nice spot, nice area, and we've had no human contact whatsoever.
We haven't, and I haven't felt anything even remotely negative coming from any group that is watching us now.
I feel eyes on us from 5 different directions, but over here they're up in these peaks.
Not one. Very neutral, which is what you want. Mm-hmm. How are you going to build bridges unless there's even a little bit of neutrality? So I really do, because I know a lot of people who watch us really try to do some sort of due diligence to nature and blessing and caring. So for those of you that embrace that, again, just want neutral areas, benevolence for all entities, highest good. Just put that intention out. No harm to people who have sovereignty, that genuine sovereignty, that you don't want any harm, and then listen to your intuitions. If you're getting too close to something, you will feel uneasy, you will feel uncertainty, you will start to feel these things. You may not hear someone directly talking to you, but you'll feel that. And the best thing you can do in order to build bridges is to honor it and just back off and be okay with that, because that's building trust. So do things like that as well, and that's how we will move this forward.
And somebody off in the hills there was sticking their face for it. I saw one of the bat people sticking their face in, saying they were Batman. And the Sasquatchers were making them back off. So they were Batman. I saw one face come through, go, "I am Batman." And the Sasquatchers are like, "Get out of here!"
That's funny though.
But they thought they were joking around. But they actually, I don't want to actually send negativity towards their way, but they tend to mess with people from time to time. They're usually not this humorous, so they're usually asses. But in this instance, when we've respected their territory, and they're not crossing into ours, and the Sasquatch are making them go back in that direction. It was one guy that stuck his face through. He had like a white complexion and some the bat features like a vampire bat. That white complexion with black lines running through his face. That looked more like an adult one. He was pretty big. Mm-hmm. And one of them is standing off this way. They have large wings and everything. They look like a bat with like hair that comes along here, and they have like a mohawk thing going on. But the forest people are making sure they keep their distance into their territory here. Mm-hmm. One is standing about where this bush is over here. So and they said that's as close as they're going to get too. So. But that's the one that said he was Batman. So he seems like he has a sense of humor. I don't sense darkness from him, but there are a few that are like that. Mm-hmm. But he came in. Is he allowed to speak at all, guys? You wouldn't recommend it? Okay.
Well, I am curious. What does he think of things like shungite? Is that harmful to them?
No.
Okay.
No.
So I mean, you did bring shungite.
Yeah, I brought
the area.
I brought this bag of the shungite here, and we'll leave it in this immediate area here.
Yeah, leave it here.
And this. But I know, no offense to your people, Batman. We're gonna call you that from now on. The Sasquatch found that hilarious. But and Isaac's here for some reason too. So let's see. And they're pointing at Isaac and calling him Robin, so okay. But or Ant-Man or something like that. But there may no offense to Batman here, but they can't, just like we're not crossing into their territory, their road people cannot cross into our homes. Absolutely, he's saying. Sometimes they're scouts for the Orions too. I've noticed some of them in different states, like further north. Some of their people are scouts for the Orions too. You just wanted your people televised on this as well. Yes, Isaac, we're going to put them in as Batman. Yes, but now we're probably going to hear that for like 2 months from him. But so he'll probably say that whenever one of them is around. But they said they keep to themselves. And what's your origins before we go? They're a creation of Orion, and some actually get packages too. I've noticed little trunks, little ones. I don't know if that's your actual name or if that was just an insult. I know they said it was a joke. Okay. They still insist on being called Batmen. So okay, it's because they see trog as an insult, like a racial slur. So. That was just because the horse people came up with that word. Fuma actually came up with that, troglodyte, meaning stupid. So, that he came up with that. So, I know he's younger. I understand that. How old are you specifically? He says he's 2,000 years old, Isaac said Batman's a little off, but okay, a little more, he says, give or take. But they've existed in some of these hills, or you would see them in high caves like you'd see bats. They just wanted to make sure that they got their species in on this because they were listening, and they figured towards the end that when Seymour was talking, they'd come in here and say something. And there's several standing up in the hills up here watching us that are of different sizes and shapes like us, like some heavier, some shorter. But this guy, if you saw him, he would be probably close to 10, 12 feet, something like that. He's taller than several of the Sasquatches here. That's why they're all kind of gathered around and make sure he behaves. And they're quite telepathic as well. And they would look like how you'd expect like a giant bat to look. They have like big like claws that come out to here. They have, like I said, hair and white and black complexion. You know, they look like a vampire bat, except with hair. So, the forest people are saying they have to cut off their transmission now, and Batman's transmission over here. And then the Batman there says he'll be in touch. So, kindly be in touch. So, thank you, all of you. Any of them in all directions, and maybe we'll get the Lyran lineage of the cat people that are here, the descendant lineage that's here. If they are up to that, and if therefore our high is good, because they've been known to be a little hostile as well. More than that, the Lyrans have warned against them, but they haven't been completely belligerent either. So there's hope there too. There's hope that all these races can work together. So before it gets too crowded up here, so thank you everybody for watching the World of Sasquatch. Bye-bye everybody.
Bye guys.
Okay, we're doing the Shungite blessing here, and we're declaring this area neutral for all beings high as good, including Batman up there and his people, and all the fairies and all the cat people, Sasquatches. Even the ones that they said were below us, some of the bad guys, they're at least respecting the territory as well. So, we're leaving the Shungite pieces out here. And I'll walk this way. Alright. We're not going to spread it too far in any direction. I'll just do the rest of it here. All right. Okay, and they also made it, I think they're making it clear that I'm not to use the ghost box out here, so.
Yeah, they don't want you to drag anything.
Yeah, they don't want to entangle one side. I just get that feeling, so. Okay, thank you everybody. Bye-bye.